Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Growth House with Dan, Matt, Randy, and this week we have a special guest, head football coach of Waterford Kettering High School officially. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Barnes.
Hey.
Hey,
Give
welcome.
it up.
Welcome,
Thanks,
Brian.
guys. Congratulations.
Thank
yeah,
you.
very glad to have you here. Thank you for coming out. So, as far as we know, you came from Bishop Foley High School over to Waterford Kettering, and the only reason they upgrade you or move you to a new spot is because you did a really good job, I imagine, over at Bishop Foley. So, how did you go about rebuild? If it was a bad situation when you got in, how'd you go about rebuilding it? Was there some things you wanted to kick out, and how did you go about bringing it to where it is now?
Yeah, appreciate that. So, anytime you have success, it's not just one person or one thing, right? There are a lot of people involved with our success there at Bishop Foley, coaches, players, parents, administrators. So there was a lot of hands in it in our success. When I got hired in February of 2017, they were in the process of winning another state baseball championship. I think they're fourth in the decade. So it was a big baseball school, and a lot of good baseball players that are playing at the next level right now. Some are in the minor leagues still.
Cool.
And so I knew that, in high school sports, there's a place to get, more than one successful program in your school. And so I wanted to buy into that culture a little bit and tap into that. And so our first summer camp, we had 9 kids show up, though. They're smaller school, but still 9 kids showed up our first day of summer camp. And so we coached those guys up, the best that we could. And then at the end of my run there at Bishop Foley, we had over 40 kids in the program. So it was something we're really proud of. And so during that run, we won 2 Catholic League championships for the first time in school history. And
Nice.
Boom, boom.
And so, yeah, thanks. And 5 straight playoff appearances. And people, I get asked this a lot. I've talked at clinics, conferences, other coaches, how'd you do it? Or how'd you get other kids in the building to want to come play football? And I said, it's really simple. You just give them a reason to. So what I mean by that is don't make it about the outcome, so to speak. Make it about the experience. And so all of us here have played high school sports to some degree. And a lot of our memories aren't necessarily about the final outcome and the win or the loss. It's more about, working out with our buddies and the weekends, recovering or talking about the upcoming season and stuff like that. So we focused on those things a lot that, gave kids a reason to want to come out and play. And, we made it fun, right? I think sometimes our society is afraid to talk about things that are fun because it's all about the win, right? Especially in youth sports, which sometimes
Sure.
It bothers me, and it's okay that you can have fun and be successful at the same time. And so we play a fun brand of football where we don't stand around a lot. Like our practices are fast. Kids have so many things nowadays that they could be doing, social media, video games, and things like that. And so we want to make it a fun brand. And so we're in and out, like, we don't beat them to death, kind of like it back in the early 90s or mid 90s when I played. It's not like that anymore. So we just try to make it fun and upbeat and get moving a little bit. And so
What position did you play?
I was a running back myself at Clawson High School. Yep, I was not the greatest athlete, but I was a 1,000-yard running back there. So that was like one of those proud moments,
dude.
right? Something like that, right? And so, and honestly, the reason I got into coaching was because I remember how I felt with those experiences, right? Those Friday nights afterwards, seeing our friends and celebrating a win and things like that. And those memories and that feeling, like, and I tell kids now, like all the time, like whatever you put in your body, there is nothing that is going to match that feeling of emotion you get, like playing sports, right? And and to me, that's sports are so cool for that reason. And so the other part is, one of the things we talk about, and if you want to say this is kind of my personal motto when it comes to coaching or really in life, is like we don't focus on championships. We talk about building champions. Okay. And so what does it mean, to be a champion and to build a champion, right? So that means, making good choices on the weekends. It means paying attention in class. It means being a servant leader and being a good teammate to those, that are around you, practicing hard, making sure you come to the weight room with the right attitude. Not worrying about the scoreboard when the game plays, worry about your responsibility on the next play. And those little things, when you do them properly, they add up to big things, and you're going to have success at the end. And so, it was nice that that philosophy, we were able to see it through, and it played out just like we wanted to. And now heading off to Waterford Kettering, my next adventure, we're going to do those same exact things, and we fully expect to have the same results.
Love it.
That's awesome, man.
How do you implement something, right? Because it sounds a little easier, right? I mean, obviously there's some accountability on you as a head coach to win. I get all those small wins, building that culture. But when you come there, takes a minute for that culture to stir up, right? So how do you continue to drive that home?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to recognize that if the kids aren't used to that, it's going to take some time, and
Sure.
you can't get overly frustrated with them, especially at the beginning if it's something they're not used to, especially our practice tempo. And I talked to the kids at Waterford Kettering, and I'm like that's going to be the biggest change for you is you're going to have to get in like that shape because like we don't condition at the end of practice like we play Air Force football because our practice is going to be super fast. We're hustling from drill to drill. We don't kill grass, so to speak,
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing, but it's just a constant reminder. Like you don't change talent, you change behavior. And it's just a constant day-to-day grind that we'll be doing. And sooner or later they're gonna break through and we'll be all right.
What your past experience, when does that click in? I mean, is it weeks? Is it months? Is it years?
It's funny. So at Bishop Foley, it definitely took about halfway through the season. And I remember a part of practice distinctly with a senior at the time who currently came back to coach with me at Bishop Foley. He was a long snapper at Central Michigan for 5 years, which is pretty awesome. So,
Chips.
and he wanted to come back. Yeah, go Chips. And go Fire Up Chips. And he wanted to come back and coach. And I remember this vividly. It was about halfway through the year, and I was talking about. I said, "Hey, man, what are we doing? Like, we've been doing this all night. We gotta go." I said, "Like, how do you not get it?" He's like, "Coach, I don't know what you're talking about." Like it was just in the middle of practice. Like, "Coach, what do you mean play faster?" Like I'm like, "Okay." And that was halfway through the season still, and we already had the summertime, and so it takes time. I mean, it just does, and it clicks, and it'll be the same. I mean, it'll be the same thing.
I remember one season we had in high school. It was just grueling. In the two-a-days, it was like our first experience with like you're gonna get your butt kicked, running like crazy, 100 degrees, just dying, and we lost our first game, and that was our like heads out of butts moment. Get it together. And from there, we kind of turned it around a little bit. But I mean, I was never, very good. When I was bad, I was healthy. When I could have played, I was hurt. I was never anything. But,
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
So starting, the next season is the first season at Waterford Kettering?
Yep, and right now, the biggest thing now is I'm finalizing our coaching staff. So that's the biggest, transition. And I tell people that the hardest part about being a head coach is your staff, right? Because you're managing now adults with, possibly some egos and things like that, and trying to figure out what their role is and make sure they're a good fit.
Planning
for
on
what you
keeping
do.
Anybody who was there? Or?
Yeah, there are some guys that are definitely going to stick around that have bought into my philosophy and talking to them and talking to people. They really are what I want in adults.
Seem excited too. They're ready for a change of pace.
100%.
So behind the curtain here, then, what's more important? Is it the buy-in of the team or the buy-in of the leadership? What comes first?
That's a great question. I mean, is it a cop-out if I say both?
No.
Right? I mean,
Sure.
It's one of those. It's funny. We've had a couple meetings already, and we've talked about practice, and we've talked about how we're no huddle shotgun the entire game, and they're like, whoa, coach, like we're never going under center. I'm like, never. Like it's just our
great.
mindset, who we are.
Yeah,
right?
a lot
And
of option too.
we do. Like we're pretty diverse in what what we do. So it's a lot of
I
fun.
want to play.
It's a
I'm
lot
ready
of
to
fun.
go.
So
Sounds fun.
There's something you said about how you prepare your team and how you said that you try to teach the mentality that don't pay attention to the scoreboard, pay attention to your next job. And that really resonated with me when you said it, because trying to do anything that's a huge goal, if you pay attention to the whole goal every time you go to work, it's daunting. So you can't do it all at once. You can't win a whole game in one play.
Well, going back to it,
Right?
which is
Like-
why I think every kid should play sports, because it's a reflection of life, right?
Yeah,
Is what
yes.
you're talking about.
Amen.
And so,
Yeah.
the big thing right now for Kettering is our main rival is Waterford Mott, and they've had a lot of success lately in football. And so when I got there, like, that's kind of all you hear about is them. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's not about them. Like we control what we can control, right? That is way down the road, right?
Yes.
And so again, that's great that we want to get them week 9, but you got to make sure you go to the weight room tomorrow, right? You got to make sure you get a good grade in math today, right? Things like that.
Game's
like,
not going to matter.
It's
And what you do this
exactly.
weekend that sets you up for Monday, it sets you up for Tuesday, it sets you up for Thursday. Like that's
Absolutely.
that long goal. It almost comes down to the mentality of how you're attacking the goal than it is what the actual plays are. You say it all the time to your boys, right?
Yeah.
It's how you practice. I'll yell at you in practice.
Yeah, I'd rather.
The game was going to unfold, right? If
It's too late.
Get your butt kicked, get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
But if you're prepared, you'll know if you're prepared.
Yeah.
right? If you'll know if you did everything.
Totally.
And like that, I don't know. That gets me excited.
Coaching, like in my opinion, coaching again for football, so to speak. We play once a week and it's on Friday night. All your coaching is done Saturday through Thursday. Like when Friday comes, like I know there's some coaches that are vocal on the sidelines and stuff, but at that point, like if they don't know it and they don't know what to do, they don't know how to line up right, we're done.
You're just negotiating.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No screaming is gonna make them snap back into.
I mean, it's all like coach them up beforehand and get them prepared so they know when they're in those situations, they can go back to what they were taught in practice, right? And they're, okay, we've done this before. We've seen this formation. We've seen this motion. We know how to get aligned to this. And so there's no stress, right? And they can play free and just play ball and have fun.
I love that, play free. That's what every athlete wants.
Yep.
I love it.
That is awesome. Yeah.
You had mentioned it earlier, prior to us jumping on here, but talk to me. I mean, this simple philosophy, of running the offense, right, and the connection with the quarterback. Why keep it simple, right? Why not over sophisticate it?
Well, a couple reasons. One, I don't think I'm that smart.
I love it. I relate.
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I relate.
And maybe I go back to people ask me this too, like, what type of coach are you? I'm like, I think I'm the guy that I needed back in high school too. Right, to a degree. And so whether that's how I mold them as a human being, being a mentor, or how I practice and how I call plays, right? And so I remember we would call plays, it'd be, flex left, fly seal, 28 quick pitch. Like, heck with that. Like, you know what I mean? That's way too wordy for me. I just call that thing one word, toss, we'll call it turtle or something, right? I mean, paint, right? So it's just, I believe in that. I believe kids and everybody, like, there's so much going on nowadays in their lives, and their mind is filled with social media and news, good and bad, and before that, even then, like, when we were younger, like, we were dealing with stuff too, right? Whether it be, we couldn't get into our locker, right? Or girls situations or whatever it might be. And so I recognize that now, and maybe that's, what being a parent has helped me recognize as well, because I see my girls going through that stuff as teenagers, and I have 3 teenage daughters, God help me. But no, it's a blessing. But, I see sometimes what they deal with, and I think, like, okay, now if my players are going through something similar, right? Like, is it really fair to me to, yell and scream or give them all this jargon that they're really not going to listen to anyway? They're more worried about their TikTok later or whatever. So
exactly.
So it's just, I'm very aware of that, and, that's why I do it.
I love it. And, on that coaching stream, right? Do you coach every kid the same?
I coach every kid fairly. So what I mean by that is some kids take coaching differently than others.
Sure.
Okay, so like, am I going to give them an honest assessment? Yes. Am I going to coach them up to, technique-wise to help them become a better player? Yes. Now, there are some kids that I've had who are playing at the next level or are a little bit mentally tougher that you can get on them and they would be okay, right? And I'm not like like we stress, and I talked about this to our coaches. Like, I want transformational coaches, not transactional, right? I want the coaches who are going to inspire kids to do great things instead of just demand them because we said so, right? And so
when you I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm sorry, but when you have, how do you approach a situation where it's like this works for one kid and this doesn't work for another kid, and then like you said with your long snapper, where it was like this is more individual coaching. Like, how do you assess that situation and then go into it?
So that's where you have to build authentic relationships with kids, and you have to get to know them, and you have to genuinely care about them more than just a football player. What you want, what's best for them as a student, as a human being, and as an athlete. And so when you build those authentic relationships, you get an opportunity to get to know them, and you understand kind of what ticks for them, and you find that out. And, I just got a call last night from one of my players. He's at Olivet Nazarene, just outside of Chicago, and we're talking about some things. And he was a kid that if you got on him a little too much, he put his head down and he was withdrawn. Yeah, he was done. And you don't want that either, right?
Exactly.
So some of it's trial and error with kids, right? Especially you don't know them. But the one luxury for me as an educator is I get to see them every day, so I know the kids. I know how they are in class. I know how they interact in the hallway. I get to observe all that, and so that helps a lot. But it's all about relationships, and that's the same thing with your staff too. Getting to know your staff and what clicks for them.
Very cool.
Love it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You were talking about the simple philosophy before of be a rock was kind of something that came up when you were discussing the style of the offense. is that like a motto that you live by, or something that kind of you throw with the team and say, hey, whenever something's up, guys, be solid. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll come back to the next play.
That's pretty cool. Ironically, I was at a coaching retreat a couple summers ago with some fellow coaching friends of mine and high school basketball coaches, some guys that have coached at the next level, and high school football coaches. And there was a moment where on Saturday evening, we were all given a letter written to us from a person who was close to us, and we didn't know this was happening, one of those kind of deals. And it was mine came from my wife. One of them came from my wife, and one of the things she said was like, "You're the rock of my family, our family," right?
Well done.
And that was a moment. I mean, that's pretty powerful to get that, awesome. Right? And because she means the world to me, and I don't say this lightly. I wouldn't do what I'm doing without her, right? And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. But that line, it just kind of stuck with me. And then so when I started on this journey of starting to Be a Rock, the LLC and whatnot, and thinking about a name, that phrase always came back to me because, when you think of a rock, you think of something that's very difficult to crack, right? And so, like I said, going through growing up, I was that overly emotional kid, right? I was that coach who was overly emotional and couldn't always control myself. And so I didn't want to be like that anymore. So I'm consciously aware of that. And so I stress it, to the players and to my staff and to myself, like that's what it means to be a rock. Like we're not cracking, we're not changing. We are who we are regardless of the situation.
And to stress a little more too, right? So you've started kind of motivational speaking around that, right? Around the principles. How about one of those principles that, is near and dear? I'm sure they all are, but if you had to give us one. Right?
Yeah. Well, the two main ones I always go back to, I have reminders that go off on my phone every day. One is life starts now, and the other one is be your own hero. Okay. And so the life starts now comes from, I think sometimes in society, we get so stagnated with what we're doing and we just kind of are stuck in a rut, right? And we accept where we are and we don't know where to go with it. And so my thing is like, okay, like life starts now. If we woke up every day and said life starts now, it's a new opportunity, right, to change that narrative. And we have the power to control that narrative. And the other part to that is be your own hero. Is I think so many people rely on others, which is nothing wrong with having those people in your life, but we rely on others to kind of take care of us, right? And to kind of help us go to where we're going when we have that power in ourselves to do anything we want. And so I think about, it's a 2024 election year. How many people on both sides of the aisle are almost like looking for that person to help and say, it's like, or like looking at this athlete, right? Or looking at no, like we have the power to do what we want, right? We control our narrative, right? And that's where that comes from, the be your own hero.
I love that. And when you're coaching, are these things you're infusing into the team, and are those principles that they're adopting and learning about and growing into?
Yeah, here and there. I mean, it depends on the situation. Like I wouldn't say I necessarily have a plan of like I'm saying this today, kind of this today. Some of it just comes, on a whim, and we'll talk about that stuff. But
so more in the moment, more in the
no
feeling,
question,
what's needed.
No question. And so going back to it, like we talked about. Being a champion, right? And not worry about championships. That's an everyday thing. Like we talk about stuff like that.
Yep. How did it, because thinking about it, right? And I'm sure you can relate. I mean, I was obsessed with sports. I mean, I remember being in third grade and I had this poster I bought and it said, "I play to win." And I brought it to my teacher and they're like, "No, you don't." And I was like, "Yeah, you do." Like I was so perplexed. And then I went home, how do you say that same message if every kid is taught differently for that person that's just so about the win?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I think if kids only play for the win and coaches only coach for the win, we're all going to be miserable, right? Because everybody wants to win, right? To some degree, everybody wants to win. And so if I wanted to win more than anything, especially being at a private school where I could have easily illegally recruited as many kids as I wanted to go win, right? And it can't be, right? And it can't
character
be like that. Yeah, right. Like I'm not going to sell my soul just so I can some 14-year-old just so I can.
But if I guess I'm probably not asking go ahead.
No, I was gonna say no. I know what you're saying though, like that win, because in a lot of ways I was the same way. right? But we just stress, like, everybody wants to win. Are you doing the things necessary to win, though? So going back to it, are you missing the weight room? Are you ineligible? Right, those things, right? So those things,
boiling down that big thing,
absolutely.
And then what's your response to a loss?
Yeah,
in game, after game, when you're losing,
love it.
You know, because playing to win, obviously you're going to play to win. You're trying to climb your mountain,
right?
But you can't let that focus and that rage to the win destroy you because you're not going to win every game.
I love it. So how do you do that when you rebuild, right? I mean, as you are losing, right? I mean, and as a leader, I would assume, right? I mean, eventually you're going to get that eye, right? You're going to be bought in those first 6 weeks, cited, maybe a couple L's come for whatever reason. How do you recoup that, right? When the kids are looking at you like, wait a minute, I'm sure that's a natural progression for you.
It is, and it's going to be a challenge. And so, like I said, our first year at Bishop Foley, we were 3-6. We started 0-4, and we were losing to our rival, Royal Oak Shrine, 35-14 with 8 minutes left, and came back and won. Right, so that was one of those cool moments where we were able to get over the top. But it's not that I necessarily believe in moral victories, but it's still high school sports. It's not the NFL.
Sure.
Right. And so there are going to be moments where we need to find those small victories to start. Okay, we're going to prepare like crazy. We're going to coach our kids up. We're going to game plan and be ready. We just need to understand, like, big picture, like, we're going to be here for a long time. Right. And it might not happen right away. And so stressing that to the kids, like, hey, we're still coaching them up. We want to win. We're going to get after it and do the best we can. And we're going to let the chips fall where they may.
I love it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd play for you.
I'm fired up.
Let's go,
man.
You get to play for free. No,
that's right.
Practice is fun.
No,
how did you come up with that philosophy? Right. I was telling you earlier how my kids are soccer dudes, and that's what they love about soccer. It's continuous, right? It never slows down. I would love that pace, right? How did you buy into that? What was that aha where, like, no, I should be doing it this way?
So I think, again, going back to it as an educator and as a parent, like I don't like to say that times have changed and kids nowadays are different, but kids have a lot more going on in their lives than we ever did, right? And so I think I remember playing some Nintendo over the summertime, but I wasn't up until 1 o'clock playing with somebody across the country online, right? I mean, things are just different, and so I've just bought in that tempo, like, okay, like, we're gonna play fast and have fun doing it, and I found that kids have fun with that. My staff has fun with it, and I found that I enjoy it. Right,
awesome,
like, part of it too is one of the hard things as coaches, and there's a reason a lot of them burn out early, is because they put so much emphasis on the winning or the practice and whatever, and they get burned out and they're out there for 3.5 hours. Like, I am not doing that to myself. Right? So we're out there an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, and we are done. Like, we are moving, but we are
I think
done.
about my,
Like, I remember back in the the 2-a-days and stuff.
Quality, not quantity.
From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that to our guys. Like, we're going to be in, we're going to get our work done, and we're going to get out.
So what's the first thing you're going to do there? Obviously you're working on your staff, building your leadership. We get how important that is. When you walk in, what do you assess as the team right now? I'm sure there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, everywhere in between. But where do you get started, man?
Yeah, so it's a program that hasn't had a lot of success over the years for various reasons, right? Sure. And again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus previously. I don't know anybody that was there, and I wouldn't do that. I know, I respect anybody that takes time to work with kids
for sure,
and puts forth that effort. And so, I wanted them to know, though, that they may not have picked me, but I picked them. And I'm not going anywhere. And that's exactly what I said to him in our first meeting. And I said, just be patient with me. There's going to be a transition. I recognize that. But, like, it's never over. Like, I'm not going anywhere until this gets fixed. And that's exactly what I told him. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. How about the team? I mean, where do you see yourself strong?
Deion Sanders bringing guys over?
No, nothing. Coach Prime, no,
Your
nothing.
job is up.
Right? No, nothing like that. I mean, it's a challenge. Like, they graduated a lot of kids, or they are graduating a lot of kids, and so there are a lot of kids. What I like so far is there's a chip on their shoulder, right? And they're excited, and so we've had a chance to do some workouts and some off-season stuff that we are allowed to do within the MHSA rules, and kids have all shown up. And they're pretty excited. And what the other thing I like
more than nine.
More than 9. But the other thing I like is a lot of them are playing multiple sports, and that's good. And so,
Interesting. And why do you say that's good? I've heard plenty of coaches say other, right? So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
love your philosophy on
I
that.
think it would be very selfish of me just to say play football only for one.
Sure.
And I'm very aware of that as I get older. I don't want kids I want them to go through high school and enjoying high school as much as they can. Go play in the band, go sing, go be in the musical,
Sure.
do all that stuff and play those other sports. And the other part of that too is kids learn so much more playing other sports than they do just being with me in the weight room or just being with me running some routes, right? So they're going to take on other coaching that they're not used to, hear different voices, deal with adversity. So if you're a basketball player, you're playing 20 games a year, you're dealing with 20 opportunities to deal with it, have adversity, right? And so those are things you learn playing those sports that you don't necessarily get just by getting stronger in the weight room. So
I love it.
Yeah,
I got one. What do you do with the kids, like off the football field, to help them like build that feeling about their teammates, where like they're out there fighting for the guy next to them? Because I know that's really the core of of great coaching is to make a great player play for his team, not for himself. Right?
Yeah, going back to it,
Good question.
things we stress. We stress and we talk about all the time we get together. In the summertime, especially like when we get to camp season, and it is our time to prepare for the fall. Those are opportunities where those things take place. In the weight room, when we're at camp, when it's hot out, things like that. Those are definitely those bonding moments, and we talk about it. We stress that and stuff, and we'll do
going through it together, right? Just
yeah, definitely, right? You're grinding, you're looking over your teammates sweating and tired and grinding, and you're feeling that, and those are all making those memories. And we do a lot of other cool stuff with our families. We have a Football for Moms Day where the moms and aunts and the women in their lives get to come out and go through a practice, kind of simulated practice with the boys, and
a little less tempo.
much less tempo than
Got to push them.
I don't
gotta
want
push them.
live, guys.
I don't want a mom pulling a hammy and then pulling me out right the first summer. Yeah. So at the end of that, we have the players read a letter to mom out loud in front of everybody. And then what we do for the dads is we'll have the helmet decal ceremony. So they get to put the helmet decals on the helmet together. And we have the dad, or if it's not a dad, a mentor, a male figure in their life who talks about the player in front of everybody. And so what we're doing is we're making it more than football. We're humanizing it a little bit. And that's something else that scares me a little bit about sports, especially youth sports, is we don't look at players anymore as human beings. We look at them as just a number, right? So think about like all the college sports you watch or whatever, or even like with your kids, probably to a degree, you hear parents doing it. Oh, that number 9 keeps elbowing okay, that number 9 is 8 years old and probably didn't mean to, right? And sometimes, but we get caught up into it, and we're very protective of our kids and stuff like that. But no, that's a moment we try to humanize the kids and everybody involved and recognize that like this isn't just me. We're all in this together, trying to get this thing right.
Awesome.
Making them be vulnerable in front of each other too, and see those sides of each other.
Real trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we also have other moments where it is just the players, where I have them talk about a hero in their life, a hardship of their life, and a highlight of their life. And you want to talk about letting your guard down and making it real for everybody.
Yeah.
That's
we
awesome.
do that. And I have the coaches. I give them the opportunity to do it as well. So we recognize at the end of the day, like we're all just people dealing with stuff, right?
Yeah.
Try to make the best of our situation.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You
There are a lot of people who talk a lot of motivation. You seem to really live it and
I love
breathe it and
You
try.
want to
man.
go another
Appreciate
30
ya.
minutes?
I'm not in a hurry.
Are you open to that?
Would love
Maybe
to.
we'll shut
right.
this
Yeah,
down.
part
round
2 coming
I'm
soon.
enjoying this. Cool.